3 Nigeria Info.
It's 99.3 Nigeria Info. Very good morning to you if you're just joining us on the Morning Crossfire. It's time to go through the papers, and it's called the Frontpages. This morning we'll be running you through the stories making it to the headlines on the Morning Crossfire today. I'm Wemimo Adewini. Morning.
And I'm Sheriff Quadri. Good to be here. We have the Daily Sun on the show this morning. Daily Trust is also here. The Blueprints and This Day newspaper.
And I've got here The Guardian, our media partner, The Vanguard, Daily Independent, The Nation, as well as The Punch newspaper. Let's remind you that we're streaming live on Facebook and Twitter at Nigeria Info FM, so you can watch us there and leave us your comments on the headlines. Well, let's start with The Guardian, our media partner. We have a banner. Okay, let's take this first story. Opera objections greets Amechi's screening in Senate yesterday. We find this also here, still about the screening on the Daily Independent. Ministerial screening uproar as Lawan shields Amechi from grilling. Aduda Melaye protests exclusion of FCT indigents. Senate screens Oga Akume Akpabio, Uwajuiba, Onu, others. I don't know why Akpabio's name appeared on that list, says Sage. And on the Vanguard newspaper, ministers, Senate goes back to bow and go, screens 10, 8 more nominees today. Abaribe say, I would have made Akpabio sweat. Dixon backs Sylvia. Banner headline of the Nation newspaper, drama at Senate screens Amechi, Mamora and others. Onu Akpabio, Akume, Kezo, Oga, Adegbite, Adamu, Nwajiba cleared. Also in the Punch newspaper, drama Senate screens 10 ministerial nominees.
Looking at This Day newspaper, banner headline, drama uproar as Senate screens Amechi Akpabio, 8 others. The riders protest over Lawan's shooting of ex-transport minister, exclusion of FCT from list. Abaribe to ex-Akwa Ibom governor, I would have made you sweat. Shehuri, Magashi, Silva, Adebayo, 4 others take turns today. This Day newspaper for you. Similar one from Daily Sun. Senate screens Akpabio, Onu, Amechi, Adamu, Mamora, others as ministers. The rider to continue today. Daily Sun newspaper. From Daily Trust, banner headline below the nameplate. Ministerial list, Senate to screen Silva, Magashi, 6 others today as Akume, Amechi, 4 others get special treatment. Daily Trust. And from the Blueprint newspaper, that's ministerial screening Akpabio, Akume, 4 others take a bow. The rider Senate drills Onu, Adamu, Oga, Adegbite today. Chike.
We were here till afternoon yesterday. It continues today. Were you impressed with the bow and go?
Well, I think it's esprit de corps. Obviously, that is what is playing out, and we have seen that happen over the years. People come before the National Assembly. They are supposed to be grilled. Made uncomfortable with the kind of questions they are asked because the senators will want to know how fit and capable they are to do their job. And so we are used to the phenomenon of just take a bow and then go. So there's no way I'm going to be impressed because we are not in a very good situation in this country. The time we find ourselves in is one in which the very best of leadership is needed to steer the ship of state out of the crisis that we find ourselves, both socially, economically, and politically. And so what they are showing is that nothing exactly has changed from the past. So, of course, I'm not impressed, but obviously the people who are beneficiaries of the take a bow phenomenon are obviously quite pleased. I mean, it's in their favor.
Senator Akpabio had a field day yesterday after his screening. He attended to the press. Gave this speech about, and particularly we were here throughout talking about the fact that for that list there wasn't any portfolio they were being screened for. So how thorough could he really have been?
Yeah,
It looks more like a rambling.
The screening of the CJN Tanko
Yeah.
gives you an idea of where we are in this country and gives you an idea of the nature and character and temperament of the people who are in charge of the ship of state. This is a Chief Justice of Nigeria that has, gone through the ranks and is now CJN and did not seem to understand the meaning of technicality. Legal technicality. That the average person on the street will be able to define. The Chief Justice of Nigeria did not understand. And from his
was he under pressure?
explanation, he cannot be at this level. This is a man that would have attended so many international conferences apart from local.
That's right.
And then not understanding that, and then the members of the National Assembly did not see anything bizarre, anything wrong, and then asked him to go, and then he goes with his portfolio with Chief Justice of Nigeria. So what we have seen, and are you going to blame Akpabio? He has been part of this
of the same house,
and so it's not a new thing, but it is sad. It is sad that, of course, obviously the senators want to go and have their holidays. They've been talking about it, so you can see the way.
Just move it on,
Exactly. Just come in and then just
except
like
for the very first person, Ukechukwu Oga, who was drilled for about 1 hour. His was the longest.
It looks like this is never going to change, Achike. I mean, this is 2019. In another 4 years, in 2023, we might be experiencing the same thing. But according to them, they say it's the House
rule.
Yeah, a friend of mine has this knack for saying that the more things seem to change, the more they remain the same. And so of course, this is exactly what we are seeing, and that was why when Amechi came in, he was, of course, brimming with confidence, and he was the one that told them he expected them to tell him to take a bow and go because he has been Speaker of the River State House of Assembly
for 8 years.
I think it was Gojo that told him, well, that is an exclusive preserve reserved for the House members of the National Assembly and not the State Houses of Assembly. Of course, he was shielded by the Senate President. And then, of course, I don't know why there was even that uproar. I don't know what kind of grilling they expected from Amechi, because they would have maybe grilled him for 2 extra minutes and told him to go.
I mean, I think it was just his bravado of saying, let me go.
No, he knew. It's a comradeship, camaraderie. But, beyond that, again, you talked about people, ministers without portfolios.
Yeah.
That's right.
Again, especially in the light of the fact that we have not seen any credible performance by most of the people who have served in this, the Seventh Republic. So you expected that this time around people are going to be angry. They are going to want to grill them, let them know how fit they are for these positions that they have been, considered for. And then it doesn't matter. You don't know you are approving somebody as a minister, or for confirming somebody as minister for sports. You don't know his legacy. You don't know where he's coming from.
This
somebody
is just
from
massive.
Ministry of Health. You don't know.
You don't know
anything about him. You cannot determine his capability or ability to do the job, and and it's okay.
Well,
so
we'll
that's
continue
the nature
of
the politics that we have today.
We'll continue this at 10. Achike will be here with us because the ministerial screening is meant to begin at 10. Yesterday, they were 1 hour behind time, but we'll be here with you until about 1, and of course, we take it through the afternoon. Let's see another story here on the Guardian newspaper. We won't stop reprisal attacks, reprisal on killer headers. Afenifere warns. We won't stop reprisals on killer headers. Afenifere warns. Fulani herdsmen should leave south. Northern elders insist. Cattlemen seize 17 in Taraba. Bandits kidnap 3 on Lagos-Ibadan road. Wow. ACF knocks Obasanjo over comments on insecurity. ACF knocks Obasanjo on comment on insecurity. We found the same story making it to the banner on the Daily Independent. Afenifere to Fulani vigilantes, leave southwest immediately, demands urgent restructuring, threatens self-determination. Hey, here we go. Ask federal government to fish out killers of Olakuni. On the front page of the Vanguard, insecurity, Afenifere demands timeline on restructuring. It makes the banner the Punch. Afenifere Ohaneze Middle Belt attack ACF for protesting Fulani killer tag. Afenifere Ohaneze Middle Belt attack ACF for protesting Fulani killer tag. Obasanjo has diminished his status as a statesman, says Forum. Allegations rubbish, says Afenifere. Group supporting evil, says Middle Belt. And we have this one also. Mieti Allah disowns Fulani vigilantes in Ondo State. So they're kind of on their own in that place. Well,
looking at Daily Sun, Afenifere gives Fulani vigilantes quits notice. Leave south, leave southwest, or face confrontation. Daily Sun newspaper. Actually, it seems like, when you have a problem and you are not tackling it the right way, things will keep coming up. In fact, it might even get worse. It doesn't seem like the federal government has put its foot down and said, this is what should be. And it should be that way.
But remember,
because
we have left
this discussion to Afenifere, Arewa Consultative Forum, the state, the governors. The federal government really is not putting its foot down.
The vice president just made a tour of Southwest with the traditional rulers in a bid to get down to it. It doesn't seem like anything has changed. The Oni has met with the presidency.
Exactly.
I mean, still.
They are laughing for your roads to the president as well. But we haven't really heard something concrete, something firm from the president himself.
Just a passage from Shakespeare's William Caesar. Mischief, thou art afoot, take what cost thy will. I hope mischief is not afoot, but in this instance, but that is what a lot of us are beginning to feel. Of course, there is a story to that, a background to that. I think somewhere along the line, I think it was the Mieti Allah that made a statement about the vigilante that they were going to be running in the southeast.
Yes, that they said they wanted to set up a vigilante group.
A group in the southeast.
And then in Ondo, a vigilante group was found.
To stem the tide, and immediately that happened, the response from the southeast was very swift,
was massive,
and
that's
severe, and it was clear. And they were warned to steer clear of the southeast. Obviously, somebody was said to have interviewed some of the headsmen, one of
Ondo
the roads
State.
in Ondo State, and then there's this tag, this ID card that is, everywhere now on social media, saying, with the caption, with Mieti Allah, the caption, and so the impression one has is that they have started this vigilante activity in the southwest, and then you now ask yourself, the government is yet to say anything about that particular incident, and that is why you cannot run away from the fact that there is something going on. And for those people who try to bring in the government, a kind of government complicity in it, you might not blame them so much, because things are happening swiftly.
What is going on? What is that thing that is going on? Because there's so much confusion.
Yeah. Sooner or later, it is going to be completely, uncovered, and we hope that when you open up the Pandora's box, that you are not going to see things that we don't like. The reality is that the government is not acting as like a government that cares. That
Let me ask you before we move off this topic.
These threats to come out swiftly.
These threats for self-determination. Yeah. This really came out strong.
Yes.
Threats. Threaten self-determination. That's Afenifere. Yeah. We already have issues from IPOB. Biafra agitators from the south.
Yeah.
If Afenifere is then going down this line...
Let me tell you something. The government is losing the plot. Obviously, the government is losing ground every single day that they allow these things to linger. Because, you see, with a secessionist movement coming from one part of the country,
it's bad enough,
and that does not have the approval of the other parts, it is easier to
manage.
It is easier to manage.
Right.
So when you have that kind of situation coming up from different parts of the country, the government finds itself in great difficulty.
Yeah.
You understand? So that's what we're saying. But again, they are not even saying that, look, we're interested in self-determination. But they are saying, look, what is going on today is leading us to begin to conclude that this is the only way we can respond to the growing crisis in the country. And so the government is expected to do something. Why have they not said anything about the activities of these vigilantes in the southwest? Obviously, it is provocative. Obviously, it is worrisome. What is the police doing about it? Is the police aware?
Question.
Do you understand?
Because those men claim to be supported by the police.
People who do not have license, who do not have license to carry guns are carrying AK-47s now
on
officially,
the road.
and these are not about the headsmen now. You understand? So they
Standing boldly on the road.
Especially with the
goodness.
kind of tension that is going on, with the kind of ethnic linkages that we're having and ethnic tags and accusations that we're having in the country. So this is exceedingly very, very worrisome.
All right, let's move on to other stories this morning. We'll begin with this one. Daily Sun newspaper. 2019 elections fallout. Buhari Atiku fight over U.S. visa ban. The writer's action clears president of involvement in violence despite PDP's effort to taint his victory, says BMO.
Oh.
It's vindication of our position that presidential poll was undermined by action of state actors, institutions, ex-VP, that's Atiku. Daily Sun newspaper with that headline. From Daily Trust, Atiku, Buhari Group, trade wars over U.S. visa restrictions. Daily Trust newspaper. Atiku, Buhari Group, trade wars over U.S. visa restrictions. Daily Trust newspaper for you this morning.
We'll have a story also reported on the Vanguard. I find it very hilarious, sincerely. Excuse me. U.S. travel ban on politicians is validation of electoral malpractices claim, says Atiku. And on the Nation newspaper, oh, no. Okay. That's it. The U.S. has not mentioned any names. Already we have some people fighting. Oh, it's you they're talking about. Oh, no, it's you. Don't you find this very funny?
Well, politicians will always play politics. I think that's the name of the game. Sometimes in doing that, there is very little consideration for the interests of and the welfare of the people of the country. So it's politics as usual. Again, if names had accompanied this ban, then we will be in a position to say, okay, these people are being punished for whatever the West perceives to have happened. In the election itself proper. So it's just the usual game they are playing, and we should just be careful as much as possible. Take care not to
join them on the swing.
Sides. Yeah, but the reality again is that what we have seen from the very last election is that it is not a shade closer to what we had in 2015. There is no doubt that the 2015 election was better. And if you look at so many other indicators, the fact that even you have less women participation is a cause for worry. The fact that you have less youth participation in the last election is also a cause for worry. So there were certain landmarks that were made, that were achieved in the 2015 election. We seem to have lost a bit of that in the last election.
Here's my problem with this, Achike. So the U.S. is threatening or has threatened to place a ban on anybody involved in election malpractices and what have you. But we've not heard something very strong and firm as regards placing a visa ban on any individual group who launders money into the U.S. or does something, quite economically
Serap has made a call for that.
Serap
made a call
to the government. Is this not one-sided?
Well, they have been talking about. Don't also forget that we've had in the past the U.S. investigate their citizens who are involved in financial malpractices in corruption. The Halliburton case is a case in mind. Some of them were the people who participated in that corruption. Were jailed.
Even the inquiry into the last election is still ongoing.
Yeah, exactly. We have not done anything about ours. But the reality again is that for a very long time, the West has been in conspiracy, and has aided the looting of the treasuries of not just Nigeria, a lot of countries in Africa, and that's why most of these monies are warehoused in their banks. But I think a lot of pressure is being brought to bear. The fact is that they have been exposed, and I think it is becoming embarrassing. The fact that these actions have always encouraged more and more of our people to steal money and then put it in their banks. So things are being done from time to time to discourage that.
Okay.
Well, let's see how this goes. EFCC seals off Okorocha's assets, Choice Properties, for probe. On the Daily Independent, we find this one also. EFCC seals several high-end properties linked to Okorocha, former governor, Faults Commission. The story is also here in the Punch newspaper. EFCC seals off Okorocha's college, supermarket, and his daughter's school. Wow, you find that on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
On the front page of Daily Sun, alleged graft, Okorocha in trouble. Writers, EFCC seals university, schools, estates linked to ex-Imo governor family. It's handwork of PDP, ex-governor speaking. Count us out. Here they are.
Well, I know that a very prominent person within the hierarchy of the government of the day, the leader of the party, has had all kinds of corruption allegations leveled against him. I'm talking of the chairman of the APC. Nothing has happened, nothing has gone on. One of the people who is said to be under investigation has been nominated by the president as a ministerial nominee and all that. So people are also waiting to see what is going to happen. But I can tell you that we find ourselves in a period of pessimism somehow, where you want to believe that actually the anti-graft agency is doing something.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, what you hear is that nothing, a nolli prosecute has been entered into. With the Goje example, it's one that people are talking about. Then I think, again, one of the nominees had about 35 or 40 of his houses returned to him while he was being investigated by the EFCC eventually. So you don't exactly know how deep their probe is all about. But sometimes people tend to believe that it's all about huffing and puffing, and that there is no real fire when it comes to.
So most times, many people fear
this.
that it's just selective. I mean, and once you bow to the other side, it's all forgiven and forgotten.
I mean, these are things we have seen. So
Is this still not with the
fear.
Is this still not with the ruling
seen.
party?
Sorry?
Is this still not with the ruling party? Okorocha himself.
Oh yeah, of course he is.
But he's
now.
not in favor.
No, of course he fell out of favor during the election. That's one. And then he is a senator of the Federal Republic.
That's right.
He does not have immunity from prosecution.
That's right.
And investigation. And so we're going to see whether he's going to end up in jail, or whether at the end of the day we're going to be told that the case against him has been
struck out. Let's say a final one, Atike, before we go. People behind AMCON 5 trillion naira debt occupy leadership positions. This is coming from Karu. Now we're pointing fingers. On the Punch newspaper, ministers, this is more specific, ministers, lawmakers among the 5 trillion naira chronic debtors. That's from AMCON.
And from this day newspaper, AMCON, Nigeria risks not recovering 5 trillion naira bad debts.
Should we ask AMCON for a list of names, and then what do we do if the ministers are owing? Does that impart on, their job? Should we ask them to leave because they're owing so much?
Sometimes you get tired of all of these things that's going on, because if you look at it in a way, you will say, look, these people are economic saboteurs, because their actions are impacting negatively on the progress of this country. But it is very clear that they do these things. They know they are going to get away with it. If you know the number of people that banks are chasing up and down, people, ordinary people who borrowed money from the banks, and they are not able to meet up, maybe 500,000, 1 million, 2 million, and all that, and they are not allowed to sleep well at night.
Yeah,
and then
but these
you
people
have the rich and the powerful, the influential,
right in the public.
They're right in the public glare, and nothing is going to happen. I guess maybe the AMCON needs to perhaps they've not begged them enough.
Begged them?
Oh yeah,
or they should be begged.
That's the impression, because some of them are in government. The government is aware. Government agencies,
and we are paying them so much every month.
AMCON
is a government agency.
Is a company. AMCON is a company, representing the federal government in managing assets.
Oh yes.
And these debts are bad debts that are supposed to be recovered by AMCON themselves.
Yeah.
Why is AMCON reporting to the government?
Please,
why
let me get this
isn't
right.
AMCON doing its job to recover
these
these
people
loans?
are in public. We are paying them with public funds, and they are owing us. Why are we not deducting the money from their huge salaries? Why are we not taking the money from source?
There's so many.
That's what happens when you're owing.
There's so many questions. Why is AMCON wanting the government to do, federal government to do its job for the agency? I don't understand that part.
I think AMCON will have to need permission if they have
Permission.
to go, to go against these people. These are
From
people,
whom? Permission from whom?
Exactly.
They have
Permission.
they have to take permission from the government. Otherwise,
From the president, you mean?
The government is about the presidency. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you've just talked about governors, people who have been investigated
In high
for so many
places.
years in high places. We all have an idea that the country is the way it is. The poverty in the land is the way it is.
Yet we are
The
paying
squalor
these
is
people
the
every
way
month.
it is, and that the
Fantastic.
people behind this are the political elites
You know
who
what?
have been in government and who
You
are
know
still
what?
in government.
Let's just go.
And yet nothing has happened to
Let's
them.
just go.
And you are asking them, people who legitimately, for whatever reason, borrowed money from the banks, they are not able to pay, and you are telling them to pay the money, and they are not paying the money, and some of them are being promoted either as ministers today, and you are saying, why is AMCON not collecting? Let AMCON go after them, and then perhaps those in AMCON will lose their jobs.
Oh dear. Achike, we must go now. Thank you all for being a part of this conversation. Achike will still be with us after the break. Thank you all. We see your comments on Facebook and Twitter. We're still there live. When we come back, we're talking about Pomo today. I find it quite hilarious, but it is a very big health situation.
That's right.
We have a representative, a deputy director of food and safety from NAFDAC joining us in the studio. We'll also be speaking to some Pomo sellers in the market. Yes, the kind of Pomo you buy. Okay. It sounds and someone here really likes Pomo, so
You people are looking for my trouble.
we'll be back again shortly. I'm Wemimo Adewini.
I'm Sheriff Quadri.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.